Today, SBF agrees to testify at next week's U.S. House hearing. The SEC issues new guidance requiring companies to disclose crypto risks, and we get an on-the-ground look at the fast-growing crypto industry in Africa. Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World. I'm Jordan Smith. Digital currencies are little changed after jumping yesterday afternoon. By noon Eastern, Bitcoin traded above $17,000 once again. Ether, meanwhile, hovered near the $1,300 level, and the Matic token traded around 92 cents. We're closing out another positive week for Bitcoin, with the world's largest cryptocurrency rising by 1.8% in the past 7 days. The same can't be said for Ether, though. That cryptocurrency is pretty much flat for the week, falling by less than 0.1%. Okay, let's talk about the top stories. First, SBF has agreed to testify before the House Financial Services Committee next week at the hearing about the collapse of the crypto exchange he founded. In a series of tweets this morning, the former FTX CEO wrote, quote, "I still do not have access to much of my data, professional or personal, so there is a limit to what I will be able to say, and I won't be as helpful as I'd like." He then added that he is willing to testify given the committee thinks it would be helpful. He went on to write that he will try to be helpful during the hearing and will try to shed light on what he thinks led to the crash and his own failings, to name a few topics he plans to discuss. But he didn't say if he'd attend in person or speak remotely from the Bahamas. Now, SBF has been holding interviews recently, but this will be the first time he'll be speaking under oath. The House hearing on the collapse of FTX is scheduled for Tuesday, followed by a similar hearing in front of the Senate Banking Committee. Right now, it's unclear if SBF will testify there, too. Next, the SEC just released new guidance requiring companies that issue securities to disclose their exposure and risk to the crypto market. The new rules were issued on Thursday, a day after the SEC chair Gary Gensler defended the agency from claims that it failed to prevent crypto firms from misusing customer funds. Under the new guidance, companies will have to disclose crypto asset holdings and risk exposure both to the FTX bankruptcy and to other market developments through public filings. The SEC's Division of Corporation Finance issued a sample letter alongside the new rules, and it asks companies to disclose material impact from the volatility in crypto assets, relationships to businesses that have filed for bankruptcies or experienced, quote, material corporate compliance failures. Last, despite the recent volatility in digital assets, Starbucks is marching ahead with its Web3 loyalty program. The company opened its NFT and Web3 platform, named Starbucks Odyssey, to beta testers. The experimental program rewards customers with coffee-related NFTs as they complete journeys, or things like virtual tours of Starbucks facilities around the world. The brand also wants to reward customers with access to exclusive events and real-life perks. The NFTs operate on the Polygon network, and after the beta launch, customers can buy or sell their tokens through Nifty Gateway. Starbucks also expects to let customers buy these NFTs directly with a credit card in 2023. All right, on to our main story. Crypto World's Mackenzie Sagalos was in Ghana this week for the first ever Africa Bitcoin conference. Africa is fast becoming a crypto hotspot for both homegrown startups and established industry players like Block and Strike.
I'm here in Ghana for the first ever Africa Bitcoin conference, where some of the biggest names in the industry have come together to talk about the unique use cases for Bitcoin across the continent. You have Jack Dorsey from Block, Jack Mallers from Strike, Ray Youssef, who runs Paxful, one of the biggest peer-to-peer markets in Africa. You also have a lot of local entrepreneurs who have either built their own decentralized exchanges or they're mining for Bitcoin. The theme of this conference is about people coming together to talk about the very unique ways in which Bitcoin is being used. And that manifests in everything from payments, so both remittance payments when you're sending money from one country to another. You're also seeing a lot of people talk about Bitcoin as a bank, as a tool to save money, because even though it's inherently volatile, in some places where inflation is spiraling and the local currency has lost most of its value, Bitcoin offers a very safe and secure alternative. Bitcoin mining has also been a major topic this week. People from across the continent have said that Bitcoin mining creates a financial incentive to build out infrastructure to harness the power of stranded renewable assets. And the net effect of this is that you're creating these microgrids that then electrify households that previously didn't have access to electricity. Hugely powerful humanitarian tool as well. I've spoken to activists from across the continent who say that Bitcoin is helping them to fight back against authoritarian regimes. And that's really the theme of the day here. People coming together to share best practices, learn what others are doing, and then bring it back home with them.
One of the big headlines from the conference was Bitcoin payments company Strike partnering with African payments platform BitNob to launch instant money transfers to the continent. We caught up with the CEOs of both companies.
So we're at the Africa Bitcoin conference, and yesterday you and Jack Mallers are up on stage talking about this new feature that is launched in the Strike app that allows people from the US to send money to 3 different countries to start.
Yeah.
It's virtually free, instantaneous. Tell me about this partnership and what it means for you and BitNob and how you fit into this equation.
Yeah, I think so. Let's just take it a step back, right? Intra-Africa payments are really expensive. Almost 80% of transactions that have to happen between 2 African countries have to be routed through Europe or North America before they get settled, right? And we lose more than $5 billion every year with that alone. Now you have a lot of fintechs also solving remittance issues, right? Coming to Africa or out of Africa. The problem is they still go through this same system where they spend a lot of money settling their payments. Now they have to pass those costs to the end users, right? So at the end of the day, you have a case where an average fee for remittances to Africa is 8.8%. In some cases up to 14%, right? It's because there are so many intermediaries between doing these transactions, right? And it's because of the current system, that's how it works. But what we have with Strike is we've been able to build an infrastructure that allows them to settle us using the Lightning Network, using Bitcoin on the Lightning Network, and then we're able to settle into this bank account or mobile money account without the recipients having to interact with Bitcoin themselves. Why is that important for the recipients? Because over time, we've seen that there are still people who really don't understand how to use Bitcoin, right? Who don't care about Bitcoin. But what do they care about? They care about their problems getting solved, right? Sending remittances from abroad, you can't obviously send $1 from abroad, right? But you can do it now with this product, right? So we're lowering the fees, we're lowering the entry barrier, and at the same time, we're giving value to people who have those problems without them having to interact with the network directly. So that's what we've been able to do. For us at BitNob, it's very important that African companies are seen to be able to innovate, right? Payments at this, sort of scale to say that yes, we can do it. We understand our problems, and we've seen a solution on Bitcoin and Lightning Network that allows us to really do this kind of scale. So it's been exciting for us.
My question to you is, the Nigerian government has been pretty hostile to crypto in the last 2 years. They outright banned it last year, but adoption is still massive. Why is that?
I think so. It's speaks to the need of the people, right? If you try to stop something and people still want it, then need definitely greater than wants, right? So people always find a way, and Bitcoin is sort of like water, right? People will always try to find water to survive. So it goes down to all of the macroeconomic, inflation. Capital controls, we're not able to really make a lot of payments outside of the country. Importers find it difficult to source foreign reserves, foreign currency, US dollars to make payments. So it's just everyone has this payments problem, right? It has not been solved. Like we see new startups coming out every day, but that's not been solved, right? For the government, I think it's mostly a case of not really understanding the potential and also looking at it from fact that people have lost a lot of money to scams, right? So in the whole crypto thing, the whole speculation thing. But one thing we're trying to do is say, look, it's not just about speculation. These are some of the real use cases that we're seeing. And because there's a large demand, huge demand for these, we're able to build solutions for it.
So people in Nigeria, Ghana, and Kenya can now receive payments from the US in their local currency via the Bitcoin network, thanks to this big product that you just announced yesterday. Walk us through just how significant this is.
It's a big deal. The coolest part about the product is that consumers are only sending and receiving their local currency. So we use Bitcoin, which Bitcoiners are super obsessed with, but the actual customers of the product don't notice and it doesn't matter. It's a really big deal because it's a superior payment rail. It's this really weird concept of actually carrying physical value across an ocean into another continent. Payments historically, since the post-industrial revolution and since the introduction of a check, since bank wires and ACH, they're all relying on debt and credit. And it is a really big pain and burden in weaker economies and more emerging markets, and especially in Africa. And so our ability to take a customer's dollars, send a physical good, which is Bitcoin, a bearer instrument, and throw it into Nigeria to a partner where they can receive it, turn it into local currency, and place it in a family member's bank, allows us to deliver a P2P free instant cross-border payment product, which I don't think TransferWise can send into Nigeria right now. So I think it's a pretty big deal. We're pretty excited to see how people use it.
All right, that's all for Crypto World this week, but we'll be back again on Monday, and we'll see you then.